That might have worked. We should be live now on a different stream because I couldn't get the scheduled stream to work. So yes, it says we're live.
Is it a new link?
I will drop a new link in the chat in a moment. I just need to figure out why OBS is now not picking up any of my screen. This edge is right. We should be live. It's on a different stream, so I just need to drop that stream in the chat and then we can actually begin.
Fingers crossed.
Right. Right, so I've so the chat seems to be working. We've had one comment from one of the audience. We are live. Let me just refresh that. Cool. We're definitely live. It's definitely picking up the stream. So I'll try and figure out in the background why the scheduled stream seems to have failed, but hopefully the 14 people we had on the on the failed stream will move over to this one. So let's kick off then. We should probably do some introductions. So if we go around the panel clockwise, if you could just give us a brief intro, what you're doing, what you're working on, and a minute on your background. So Daniel, could you start, please?
Sure. So hi there, guys. My name is Daniel. I am a cloud engineer and working for a company that is AWS partner, and we are advising startups on migrating to the cloud or their challenges with AWS cloud. So
cool. Thank you, Daniel. Neil, how you doing?
Hello. So I started off as a developer, but I'm now working as a principal cloud operations engineer, specifically looking or managing the CI and CD pipelines for our company, Alert Logic. So this is the different systems that deploy software other people write into production so that our customers get the benefit of all the changes they've made. That's it from me.
Cool, thank you. Samir?
You're still muted.
I always do that. Hello everyone, this is Samia Shafiq and I'm from Pakistan. So I have been working as a cloud engineer, but with the title of solutions architect. I think that's because of the certification, but honestly, I've been working as a cloud engineer. So it's basically just looking after the organizational structure through Control Tower, managing the accounts and everything for 2 of our clients in the company. And yeah, that's mostly what I do. And with my manager, sometimes we also work on improving architectures for different workloads for clients, following well-architected framework. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Thank you and welcome. And lastly, John, how are you, sir?
Yes, thank you, John. Yeah, John Darcy here. As I usually say, Irishman living in Denmark. Been working with the cloud for many years, since 2013. Working as a cloud architect, as an independent consultant at the moment. I've started a few companies, all AWS related. So I've been working mainly with enterprises, the sort of large infrastructures, and focus is mainly on infrastructure as opposed to application development. Although the development of infrastructure as code has taken over quite a lot here in the last few years. That's me.
Cool. Then I'll go last. So John Ogden, I work at Capgemini in the Cloud Centre of Excellence, and I've spent the last few months working on cloud migration bids and working out how to build landing zones within AWS for various large and complex accounts. So the first question we had for the discussion this month was, how did we all get into cloud? Was it jump straight in, transition from an existing job, or sort of go through some training? So Daniel, how about you go first? Tell us, what was your journey?
Sure. So I started based on a recommendation of one of my IT friends. He suggested to me to start with AWS because it's this new emerging, like the whole industry is moving towards cloud and stuff. So I remember I tell him, but I'm not really familiar with IT. I don't really know much. And he said, don't worry, this is new technology. Not a lot of people do know is related to, you know, like some of the old technologies, but you know, you can pick it up very quickly. So I started studying for my solution architect exam in AWS, and that's where I learned. I Googled pretty much every term that came there that I didn't know. So within like 4 months, I think I got certified, and then I done lots of practice on lots of you know, like cloud learning platforms and courses. So yeah, like I've done that for like 6 months and studied a lot of like AWS, Linux, and a little bit of Python and stuff. And I remember I got my first job within network security after like 6 months of studying, starting from zero, from like no knowledge, starting from like Googling what's an IP, what's a network. And within 6 months with studying every day, I can say that every day for like 10 to 12 hours, I've been doing this. And with hard work and determination, I feel like everybody can do it. And yeah, that's how I started in it.
Cool. Thank you. Neil, similar story for yourself?
No, so I, as I said, I had a development background. I was slowly moving from actually developing back-end software to more of a testing framework. So I was a developer in test. And a new job came up. I got approached by a recruitment agent, said, do you want to move to Alert Logic? And I moved to Alert Logic, and all of our stuff was moving at that point from data center to cloud. So I started working on the new evolution of our product that was all hosted in AWS. Knew next to nothing about AWS at the time. I knew what an EC2 instance was. I knew what an AMI was. Knew next to nothing about anything else. And there I was doing operations on running EC2 instances, hundreds of them. Yay! So then gradually learned more and more as I was doing the operations and the systems administration of those different instances. Got involved in the pipeline to deploy our software, and then after maybe 3 or 4 years of using it every day and gradually using more and more of AWS, I started studying for, I think I did my systems operation, my SysOps admin first, and then I did solutions architect first, second, and then the developer associate third. So the certifications came a lot longer, and the study came a lot longer after I'd been using it every day.
Okay, cool. That's a really interesting journey. Thank you, Samir. I think you've also got one of the most interesting journeys there. Could you walk us through it?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, I am from a non-IT background. I'm an electrical engineer, and when I started working on cloud, it's very interesting. It's quite unique. I was at that time I was a stay-at-home mother, and my best friend shared a Udemy course with me that said that 3 associate courses for AWS. Like that was a very good pack or something. And at that time, I did not even know what was AWS, what was cloud computing. Both of us did not know. She was also a stay-at-home mother, and we were desperately trying to get back into professional life, and I wanted to switch careers. So I said, what is cloud computing? And I remember at that time, and it's just before the pandemic hit. So I started exploring that what is it, and I found it really interesting and a very thriving industry. So I started with AWS because it is the father of all cloud. It's the foundation, and like Adrian recommends, everyone recommends that Solutions Architect Associate is the one that you should start with because it covers the broadest range of services in theory. So I started with Solutions Architect Associate, and then on Adrian's recommendation, I was very hesitant to go for the professional certification because I thought it would be a great jump for me because I have like zero IT background. So I wanted to do my associates first. But he said, no, 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 you should go for professional. My course is awesome. You should aim for that. It will teach you everything. And yeah, so he really pushed me hard. And then I did the professional certification. And then I think my tech study Slack family remembers. I remember that on 7th October, and on 8th October, someone from my company approached me for an interview. And I was overwhelmed that what is happening? Like I was not ready for the job. I was freaking out. But yeah, then I got into the job just the very next month, and here I am.
Wow.
Cool, thank you. That was just a really interesting journey how you came from the outside through the training and then ended a job. John, tell us your journey as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit longer than Samia's, but because I started way back, and as we discussed earlier on, I've been in the industry for so long. But no, it really. I was working in a consultancy company before the cloud, but I was on a gig over in the US in New Jersey, and they were moving to the cloud. And then when I came back to my partners in the company, I said, we need to do this. And that was back in 2014. So we got the guys, partners in the company certified. They got employed some people and got them certified, and went through the journey from a consultancy basis. And we had been working with a lot of enterprise customers already. So we just sort of took the AWS solution and sort of gradually got them, suggested that, well, maybe we should move some of your workloads up to AWS as well. So that went fine, and then of course as well the whole leadership principles from AWS sort of appeals to me, because the IT industry has deliveries have gone wrong and lots of big projects always fail and all this sort of stuff. And I said, let's do it right. So that was one of the drivers as well to get me into the industry, to get into that. But then it was getting the certifications, and I did it maybe a little bit backwards. I had the certifications, the associate certifications, but they expired because I was so busy. But I took Adrian's associate course again, and then took the professional afterwards, and I got that, and that was really, really difficult. That took a long time, but and then I picked up the 2 associates again afterwards, and the security specialty then as well, as Adrian also suggested, that it was most of it is covered in the pro course as well. So that was good. And now I'm an independent consultant working up at a large Swedish retailer, say no more, trying to help them move to the cloud. And that's really a sort of a multi-cloud area, but myself and another guy are doing all the AWS stuff on the platform side.
Cool, thank you. So my journey, I've been in IT for forever, really, 25, 26 years. Was doing lots of stuff as a solutions architect back in the mid 2000s, and we started to hear these words like cloud computing and AWS. So I set up an account with Azure, an account with AWS, tried to build some things, tried to get a feel for what was going on, and frankly struggled because the first thing you see is this incredibly complex web console with about 1 million services, even back in sort of 2012, I suppose this would be. From there, I did some training and started to see lots of projects at clients heading in this direction. So it was a case of learn some stuff fast, see some migrations start to happen, see some new stuff being built out, and keep going around that cycle of get a bit more experience, do a bit more training, break a few things, learn from those mistakes. And from doing that over a good few years, I eventually moved into the Cloud Center of Excellence, where I'm now working as a AWS SME with the professional certification. Okay, so that brings us to the end, I think, of topic 1, how we got into the cloud. The next one we had on the list, and obviously happy to take questions from folks on the stream as well. The next one we had was, what are we each looking to study next, or where do we see our learning journeys continuing? So I'll hand over to Daniel first of all. Tell us where you're going.
Sure. So for me, at the moment, I've been studying quite a lot of Terraform, Docker, trying to get into Kubernetes and CI/CD pipelines and stuff, because I feel like most of the work that I do, shift towards that, as in like people are looking to migrate from VMs to containers and to, use orchestration and stuff. So I kind of felt that is the right time to actually learn more about this and automating. I also would love to learn more about serverless, because I also feel like it's a big improvement that the cloud brings. So my learning journey will go towards that, like Terraform, containers, orchestration, automation, pipeline, CI/CD pipeline. So yeah.
Cool, thank you. And Neil, what are your thoughts?
So I'm currently working on my solutions architect professional. This is the first course I've done that Adrian has developed, but I bought the all the things package, and it's just at the moment I'm filling in some of the gaps that doing exam focused courses. They got me through the previous certificates, but they didn't necessarily fill all the gaps. So it's quite nice. I've got the skills-based gaps, skills-based knowledge in certain areas, but there are gaps because the solutions architect is much broader. So that's what I'm focusing on and filling some of the areas that I'm not as familiar with. But I've got all 3 associate certificates. I've got the DevOps professional and security specialty. So yeah, I went in a really random order, and I wouldn't recommend it. I think using Adrian's courses and the way he suggests going through it is a much more sensible way. So yeah, solutions architect professional is my next target.
Cool, thank you. And Samia, tell us about your current learning challenge.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. So I have like 2 to do. I wanted to target structured code first. So because at work I see all these long automation scripts that I can read and understand, but I cannot write those templates. So I decided that I should learn CFN and Terraform both. So what I'm aiming to learn right now is Terraform and CFN. I know CFN, I know YAML and everything, but I can't, write those long scripts yet. And after that, I'm aiming for networking specialty. But other than that, there is another challenge that I'm doing right now with another mentor of mine, which I'll tell you about if time allows. He gave us a proof of concept for, because even when I came after doing the professional certification, I had no idea how to perform migration. Like when a client comes to us, like how do we propose, or like what is the solution we give? I did not have any idea. So he said that what you have to do is create a landing zone for a client, and you have to use Terraform, not control tower for that. So I'm working on that as a pre-sales consultant as well. And then you said you have to work on it as a cloud architect too. So like everything. So it's a very good challenge, and I have been racking John O's brain about it. That tell me what questions to ask the client, because Joe, who is my mentor, is not giving me any hints. He's saying just do it yourself, bear all the pain and torture. That is the real hands-on experience that you want. So right now, that is what I'm doing. It's very interesting, and I think that is the real kind of stuff we should know, apart from the certifications, how to perform migrations end to end.
Yeah, I'd absolutely echo that. I see loads of clients asking, how do we do migrations? and it's always big and complex migrations. It's not, hey, can we install server migration service on this one VM, hit migrate, and jobs are good? And it's we have 30 years of legacy. We think, we're not entirely sure. Can you help us figure out what we've got out there? And then can you pick it all up and move it to the cloud? By the way, a lot of it runs on stuff that doesn't run in the cloud, like AIX, for example, or Solaris. So can you just sort that out as you go? So loads of challenges. And I've seen the challenge Sammy has got. And the challenge of building a large and complex AWS account is really, really hard. It's one of the reasons AWS created the ASEA, and you would spend ages doing designs for how many different accounts you have, how you put them in different OUs, how you allocate the CIDR blocks across all of those, how you do the networking across accounts, how you separate dev, test, prod, etc. That's proper real world stuff, and it's proper hard. So thanks to Joe to set you that challenge, but boy, is that in at the deep end. So I should shut up. John, how's...
Yeah. No, it is interesting. I've been working with the same type of things as well, and the whole organization, control tower, how do we get all this to work thing is very interesting and very, very difficult. But no, study next. Yeah, like I've sort of changed strategy a little bit. I'm trying to get more skills than certs, but what I'm doing is using the advanced networking specialty to gain those skills. I'm using that and going through it, but going through it really, really slowly, so that when I get to an area where I'm a little bit weak, then I go through that and maybe looks at some of the pro course or some of the other courses to get that background as well and do it. Because it's where I feel I'm not that strong, then I think it would be good to get that done as well, and it's the same type of thing that everybody keeps saying on the Tech Study Slack as well, that we should really use it for that, and then let the certs be a sort of an extra thing or a byproduct of it. And like I have 5, the 2 professional and 3 associates, but I think I'll take it easy and improve the skills through working with them as well. And another thing, I think, as you were saying, Daniel, is the whole serverless side of it. That's one of the things as well that I wanted to get a little bit more, and using the SAM framework and using a whole lot of other things and getting everything to sort of work in detail. I love building small sort of POCs and getting my hands dirty on stuff like that, and seeing how it all works. But I think the next one at some stage in the future will be the advanced networking specialty. But at the moment, I'm busy with getting sort of, as you were saying, Samia, with organizations on the 300 account set up. And how do we do all that, and how do we make everything as code, and how do we have enough security in there so it doesn't disrupt the DevOps teams that are working on it, and all the problems. But that'll probably take most of my waking hours during the day.
Cool. So on the topic of learning, how do we go from the scenarios we see on training courses, or the relatively simple questions we see on the cert exams, and move to applying that in the real world? How do we really get hands-on experience? What would we say to people who are asking those questions on Slack and LinkedIn? Go on, who wants to take that one?
I'll start. So the way I do it is find something as a project that is related to that area and dig in deeper. And so if it's something like serverless, you write a little application and deploy it, and then work out how it can scale, and then maybe put API gateway in front of it, and a load balancer or something else, just build it up. So you start with a little bit that you want to dig into a bit further, and then work out how it interacts with other AWS services.
Cool.
Yeah, and some of the other suggestions as well were taking some of the demos and maybe even expanding them You know, once you have gone through them, the ones Adrian's have, see if you can add some features or something like that. And then there was some other suggestions as to you know, set up a VPN for your devices from home, blogs, websites, stuff like this that can do it. There was one suggestion as well. I think it was Timekiller came with a cryptocurrency tracking application of some kind, sort of get some ideas. And I've actually had one guy who was he wanted to know what the weather was like while he was still lying in bed. So he had some IoT stuff developed, and that could take the temperature from outside his house and send an SMS to himself there in the morning before he got out of bed. So small things like that, it helps you understand how stuff works as well.
Cool. So I think the themes I'm hearing there are just have a go, get the cloud account out, build some stuff, see what happens. Any further builds on that subject?
From my side, not really. I just agree the same with what the guy said. Just give it a try and try out, and you know, like get some practice experience in, you know, terms of projects, or look on GitHub and you can clone and like a simple app and try to figure out what's there and stuff. And you know, like there's many things out there that you can do. It's like it's just
I think we've lost him.
Yeah.
Has anyone tried the AWS workshop site?
Yes. I've tried a few bits there. There was one where it was, here's how you deploy Jenkins in EKS. Oh, this is really quite in depth, and there's all sorts of little bits. The other thing I would say as a final build is when things go wrong, when it breaks, you fix it. You don't throw it all away and start again. You go in, dig in, find out exactly what went wrong, go back through the steps that you followed and say, this is where I made a typo, or, oh, I forgot this step. This is why everything else afterwards didn't work. So that's actually putting all the pieces of the broken thing back together. That helps me learn a lot more than just throwing it away and trying again. I mean, sometimes you have to do. Maybe you keep the broken one and you try again in parallel, and you go, "Oh, this one works. What's different between this one?" So that there are various different techniques you can do to do it. But fixing something that's broken, you learn a lot more. Yeah,
I think that's a really powerful thing to do. Trying to figure out how you broke something is a great way to learn. It's a great way to learn monitoring, and then driving the monitoring to figure out how you broke it and sort it out again. Really, really useful thing to do.
I took one of those workshops. I think it can't remember was a workshop. It's called Kudos, the cost usage dashboard, which they have there, which was really an Athena taking all the data, the cost data out across the organization and putting it in and creating, you know, quick sites, graphs and stuff on top of that. But I just took the GitHub source and put that in and tweaked it a little bit to suit the organization that I'm presently working in. But that gave me a lot of knowledge as well, going through that and understanding how it was done. And like there's quite a lot of those types of GitHub resources out there as well, that can be done in AWS. Publish quite a lot of them, so it's good to take them down and go through them and get some experience that way as well.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. Any more to add there, Samir or Daniel?
Yeah, so what I would say is that yeah, definitely doing the demos is one of the easiest and simplest way of implementing what we learn. Honestly, what I think is that the certifications are more theory focused. They are not that much focused on the real world hands-on experience. But in case of Adrian's demos, they somehow make you, you know, they give you the feeler of real world experience as well. Like at my work, our company's website was hosted on a single monolithic instance. So I proposed that solution, that Adrian, like to make the site highly flexible and resilient. So like instantly I had something to propose, and I was like a hero. Wow, you know so much. And even though it was taught to me by Adrian, but yeah, so we can definitely do the demos. And the other thing that I am doing right now is something that I would recommend to people that do proof of concepts, like I am doing right now. So for that, I can even send you the link to that group. It's so basically what Joe does is he has created a dedicated WhatsApp group, and in that group he sometimes sends some like multiple proof of concepts, and then he asks to team up, like 6 or 7 people team up, and then they work on it hands on. Like I have no knowledge of Terraform, but by working on that proof of concept, I am forced to learn about Terraform in a good way. So you get that work done, and you know that actually what is required in the industry. So I think doing the proof of concepts is a really good way. So I'll share the link to Joe's profile actually in the channel, because he does not let anybody enter WhatsApp group. There are some specific rules to enter that group, that you should be able to bear his harsh rantings and all, because he does scold people when they don't meet timelines. So but he's a very good mentor. He does everything for free. So I would strongly recommend people to do those proof of concepts as well.
Yeah, that sounds very, very good. If you'd let us know the link, I'll drop it onto the, or I can drop it into the comments. You can, of course, drop it straight onto the comments in YouTube as well.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's move on to the third topic. What are the current hot topics, either in cloud or in IT in general? Why do they matter, and what opportunities do they present us? So who would like to go first? Go on, John, smiling. Go on, give us a view.
No, I was just thinking that like all of these, there seems to be a focus towards organizations and sort of account-wide or organization-wide functionality from AWS over the last few months. They put an awful lot of work into control tower as well. But when we looked at it first, it was about a year ago, and said, nah, it can't be done. We can't really automate through it, and it couldn't take in existing security accounts or login accounts and stuff like that. So we dropped it again, and did most of the stuff ourselves, and in CloudFormation and CDK and some other stuff. And but it does seem that they're catching up, but also the sort of the organization-wide issues that enterprises have. And how they can solve them better. So it seems to be a sort of a maturity level that seems to be gaining on AWS's side as well. It'll probably, we still haven't taken Control Tower, for example, in, but we're waiting for it to get even more mature. But I think that we'll see a lot more of these types of services being delivered out there, and sort of keeping track of all the AWS services is a job by itself. But with the RSS feeds, we can keep it up. But I think it might be that area that they're going in, especially also on the security side of it. Like we've got Security Hub and Guard Duty and Config and Inspector and these things running across the organization, and help catch quite a lot of, especially Guard Duty helps catch quite a lot of cyber attacks. And then catches them straight away with an event-driven setup, and I think those types of things will also be more mature going forward.
Yeah, there's some good stuff there. It's interesting how Guard Duty seems to be quite focused on network-based attacks. Reading something from Microsoft this morning, they've introduced the concept of what did they call it? LOL bins and LOL bins. Meaning malware that, quote, lives off the land. So rather than installing the binary, this malware appears to just pass command to command. So it gets into PowerShell and runs a SQL plus command that gets into the database, that gets into the... So there's never any software installed on the machine for the virus scanner to say, there's the malware. It's just hopping from process to process in memories. Interesting stuff, and really hard to defend against.
Yeah, the way to catch that is to look at something like CloudTrail and the actions that a particular account is doing, and then being anomalous. So that's the sort of thing that you need to look at next. So yeah, I would say security is a big thing, as John mentioned, but also serverless. So different ways to provide the same functionality where you don't have to manage the servers and scale them, so that you're much more responsive to customer demand as it fluctuates down and hopefully up as well.
Do you see a lot of appetite for that kind of elasticity? Because some of the folks I talk to in the finance teams are more interested in predictability, having the same cost month on month that can be estimated and forecast for or provisions made for, than a very highly variable set of costs that may come as a happy or unpleasant surprise week on week.
So we have a mix. There are certain bits of our product that are very steady state, very predictable, and then it's in terms of looking at reserved instances and savings plans to cut down the per unit cost of those services. And then we have some very elastic stuff, which depends very much on user behavior. So there it's looking at how to make those spikes less by making the solution more highly optimized, and yeah, trying to find some way to either predict it or mitigate it. So there's a mix.
And I see a lot of that elasticity as well, especially in the newer the greenfields applications or workloads that are coming in. It's maybe something else with the legacy is maybe a bad word, but the older architectures it's more difficult to get that elastic unless you copy it into a container or something like that. But
Yeah.
But the new stuff, yeah, especially like we do a lot of what we call architecture advisories, where some of the teams we can help them design the system and make sure that they do use serverless, for example, and they do get costs worked into their through the well architected framework and use all those pillars all the way through as well. And there has been some sort of aha experiences for some of the guys in there who are used to doing on-prem work or whatever. That you can actually do it, and if you architect in such a way that it can be elastic, then the cost obviously is there as well. But what we find, a lot of people just still have that on-prem mentality where they say, "Oh, we'll set up a server," and then they forget to especially in the dev and test environments, they forget to bring it down, and done some cost optimizations as well with this, where people, for example, putting in a monitoring system which calls CloudWatch, so you get the license fee on the monitoring system, plus the calls that are going through CloudWatch, so you're doubling your cost instead of just using CloudWatch, for example, or something like that. So that there's a lot of, and I think it's because they don't know all the services that are available when they start out. So it costs an awful lot upfront.
So if you go down those scenarios where you're using serverless, then or the managed services that do auto scale, how do you deal with the fear of lock-in? How do you deal with the clients who say that will tie us into AWS and we'll never be able to migrate out, and AWS will just jack up the price?
So
yeah.
I've got a different situation to most of you, because I'm in a single company and we're not consulting with a lot of clients. So we decided 7 or 8 years ago that AWS was the solution, and we bought well into the lock-in, and then everything we're able to optimize using the specific AWS services. So there are some downsides. So when a particular region has an outage, you're more affected by that. But there are ways to compensate for that. The other thing I would say about, so John was kind of touching on it, John Darcy, this, about the elasticity. So if you're doing a migration and you don't consider elasticity, you lose one of the main benefits of being in the cloud. So we've seen different departments within our company try a migration into the cloud, and they end up spending an awful lot more than they were in the data center, because they just did a lift and shift and with data center mentality and scaled everything up and to the maximum peak load, and oh, this is way more expensive than the data center. Well, yeah, that's because you're not doing it the right way. So it's as you do that migration, you have to change mindset, and you have to do it in the cloud native way. Even if you phase it in and you take a hit for a few months and say, yeah, it's going to do a big bump, but then we'll get everything in, and then we'll start re-architecting and making it cloud native, and then we'll see the savings.
Yeah, and the lock-in itself then as well is, you know, if you focus on standards, then you should be able to run it anywhere. The idea, of course, is that the more you accept lock-in, the more you can do. But I haven't really seen any projects that are saying, okay, move everything from AWS to Azure, for example. I've never heard of any of those projects. And there will always be if it does happen at some stage, there will always be a period of time. The question then is how big is that project to move away from one cloud vendor over to another cloud vendor? And it would more than likely be a sort of a true multi-cloud setup where you'd have some workloads running on one cloud vendor, and you move them over bit by bit if you are in that setup. And if you've based it on standards, then it's a doable effort. But I don't know, locked in, it seems to be a sort of a myth somehow that yes, there's a lot of management discussions around it, and afraid maybe more about data privacy and some other stuff like that. But from a lock-in per service basis, if you keep to your standards, then I think it's doable to move away.
Cool, thank you. Sammy, let me come across to you. What do you see as the next big challenges for IT, or what's the next thing we'll all be talking about?
For me, I think everybody, like where I see, everybody's talking about serverless. Everybody talks about automation and serverless. That's it. But I don't know that it's the next big thing, because it is already the big thing. So, and I don't know much about serverless yet. So for me, it is something that I think I should learn maybe. But again, for somebody who is new to IT, it gets a bit baffling, because you don't know that what to learn and what not to learn, and like what to just touch somewhere. So there should be a cutoff point for something that okay, I'm good to know about this, I should specialize in this specific area. So yeah, short answer to that is that I think serverless and automation is the big thing right now. I don't know about the next.
It'd be interesting to me to see how much of a kickback we get from automation and things like infrastructure as code, because I keep hearing about ClickOps from people on Twitter that kind of suggest people have gone beyond Terraform and gone back to clicking around in the console, which seems quick, but I thought we'd been there before, and it has downsides.
Drift.
Repeatability.
Well, clicking is great. It's completely repeatable because you'll be clicking for forever.
But also, what happens if so it's not just clicking. You have to type some values in every now and again. And what happens when you get the value wrong?
Yeah. Outage. Daniel, what's your view? Are you a ClickOps proponent?
Well, I started like that because obviously at the beginning, to get more familiar with the console and how to build things and stuff. But obviously I quickly saw within my job and within customer demands and stuff that most of the things they shift towards coding, infrastructure as a code and stuff like that, because not only eliminates that human error and that mechanical tasks, but also make it so much quicker. And to be honest, I kind of see the point where when you read the code and you understand the connection between the resources and how they talk much better, because like you need to follow the logic behind how everything connects and you're writing the code. So I kind of feel that it gives you not only a better way to do it, but also it gives you a more in-depth insight into that architecture and how everything connects. So for me, I really love it. And the same, obviously the same automating is, I think it's a great thing because it eliminates that, you know, like sometimes people work 8 to 10 hours automating a task that takes, you know, like 15 seconds, 20 seconds. But then if you see that across every day and stuff, like in the long run is 10 times better. And not necessarily that, you know, that, but it just eliminates that person of going there 15 seconds and doing that kind of stuff every day or something. So I kind of feel that because there's a lack of people and probably, you know, like technologies move it towards the future in a very fast pace, that you can see there's a shortage in people. So I kind of feel like we're moving towards automation, because it's kind of like instead of having a 20 network guys, you're gonna have only 5 that to deal with pretty much automating everything, and they just like you know, supervision and stuff. So kind of feel that that's the way it goes. And to be honest, as much as I was afraid from the beginning of the code and of all this kind of stuff, I don't know if I'm going to understand it and stuff. The way I think about it is like I take it as a language, right? So when you learn English for the first time or anything, any other language, you know, like you don't know how to speak, you don't know how to whatever. So then you try with simple stuff, simple code, and then you're trying to understand like the different types of words and different type of things, and then you're trying to build like simple you know, projects or like simple sentences and stuff as an analogy. And then with practice and with experience, it will come where you become much better. But I kind of feel that I would rather embrace it than be afraid of it. So I went to be like, I know it's hard, but this is where we're going, so I have to embrace it and I accept it. So, you know, like I kind of feel like more people should do that, and they should not be afraid of this kind of stuff, you know. So yeah.
Cool, thanks. So we're nearly at the end of the time. So what do we want to do with the last 5 minutes? Do we want to go more on any of the hot topics people have got, or do we want to try and answer the chat question around the differences across cloud providers?
I would have a suggestion here. Like I have, obviously, like as being one of the people that started in the cloud from no experience, no nothing, I would like to give a couple of tips for people that they are out there either from no background or either transitioning from IT. Because I kind of prepare like a sort of like a little message where I kind of feel that my experience or my journey would benefit others, right? So I remember from the first thing I started, I said to myself, you know, cool, I want to be AWS, but what do I want to be exactly? Because AWS is a cloud provider, it's not a job, it's not a thing, right? So I kind of said to myself, I need to set a direction a clear direction from the beginning, what I want to become, right? So if I want to become like a solution architect, if I want to become a DevOps and stuff, I understand that many people do not know what that job means, but set up a clear direction of where do you want to go. Because if you don't know what you're going to go, IT is a very, very, very big field. And, you know, like everything seems interesting, everything seems important. Everybody, you're going to jump from one thing to the next, and then you're going to feel like you don't know anything and you know a little bit of everything. So I kind of feel like set a direction, a clear direction where you want to go.
And
the next,
sorry,
yeah.
I would just interrupt there. Not based on job title, but based on a collection of skills, I would recommend. Because
I was about to say my next point. Yes. Like my next point was like the way I did it, I kind of reverse engineer it. So I went on LinkedIn, I look at like, let's say solution architect, but I look at what are the skills that this guy have? What are the technologies that he knows? What are the certification that he has, right? So I kind of try to reverse engineer. I look at a cloud engineer resume and I see he knows Linux, he knows a bit of Python, he knows networking, he knows security, he knows a little bit of this kind of stuff. So I'm like, you know what, I need to get myself straight with these technologies too, and at least understand the basics and try to get my, you know, like how systems connect, how they talk to each other, a bit of security, how to secure them, or at least to understand the flow of information and the flow of like, you know, each piece, what does it do, right? So that was kind of my second point.
losing me again.
Feel that you can get information very quickly, but practice you cannot get very quickly. So for practice, you have to go out there, try, succeed, fail, try again, and never give up. I feel like this is a thing that in IT is like you should never give up, because once you kind of like feel like I don't know this, I don't like this, it's not successful, you know, that feeling that you get when you succeed something after 3 days of trying, believe me, it's just, I cannot explain it, but you have to feel that. So you have to look towards that. Yeah. And my last tip about it. I was on LinkedIn with no connection at all almost, and I just realized like the more I surround myself with people with the same interests and same passions and this kind of stuff, the better I put myself in a position for like either a job opportunity, either learning opportunity, because I can only say from the network, I've learned so much on LinkedIn. I've got certification vouchers from there. I got into courses that I never thought I would be. I got into, you know, like this tech Slack channel where you know, it's like a very great place to ask you questions or learn from other people. So I kind of feel like the community is very important, and I like that people are very helpful to actually help you. You know, I feel like every time you send a message to somebody and be like, hey, can you help me this? Like, can you tell me, guide me, or tell me at least this kind of stuff? I feel it's important to get this kind of help from other people with experience and with, you know, some sort of vision, because there's nothing wrong in asking for help, and it's not necessary that you have to follow that. You have to think, does this apply to me? Because I got advice from people when they told me, I don't know, like learn this and learn that, but I was thinking like, is this my direction? Is this where I want to go? And I was like, no, I appreciate your advice, but I want to stick my path, right? So because everybody will try to drag you to their own type of skill or something, but
that's such
I feel like
there's so many times I'll see someone post, hey, what should I learn? And the answer is, you should learn this thing I've just learned. It's like,
yes, exactly. That's why my
one of the questions actually, could you offer any advice on what stuff to do? And I think you're always going to get two sorts of advice. You're either going to get someone saying, I've just learned about JavaScript and React, therefore you should go and learn about. Like, no, don't listen to those people. They're not giving you advice. They're telling you what they've done. The alternative is go and do the things that are interesting. IT is such a big and vibrant industry. There's more than enough work out there. So go and try different things.
But also, what interests me is not going to interest you.
Correct.
So work out what interests you. Try some different things. And this is the other thing, is try something new, because you'll find something out and you go, oh, this is really, really good. I want to dig in deeper into this. And 2 weeks ago, I'd never heard of it before. So it's that sort of thing. Find out different topics, and you'll find something that interests you, and then dig in.
Yeah, and you can do that through seeing what people are posting on LinkedIn, what people are posting on Twitter, what they're posting on Tech Study Slack from sessions like this. Get an idea of what's out there, go and learn a bit more about each topic, see what interests you, and then do more of the things that interest you, less of the things that don't. And if you ever manage to learn how YouTube decides whether or not to start a live stream, I'd be very interested. Exactly why it did not do what it says it's going to do.
No, there was one question. That's the last one you asked about the difference between some cloud providers. Or somebody had asked about that. One of the things I've noticed, because I work a little bit with Azure and AWS and GCP, and with the others clouds. I always find that the documentation on other clouds is really, I wouldn't say really bad, but it's compared to what AWS have, it takes longer to find what you're looking for. And I've actually at some stages you called our Microsoft guy who should know all this, and I met him on some of those websites as well, where I'm saying myself where he was looking for this stuff. So there's the documentation on the Azure and GCP sides takes longer to figure out what you want, whereas I think on the AWS side it's quicker to find whether their documentation is better or not is another thing, but it's quicker to find or to Google something and go in that way. And I think that's one of the big differences. That's why it's easier to work with as a cloud provider than than any of the other vendors, I feel. Of course, if you've been working with Microsoft for a long time, then it might be a different story. But that's one of the things, in any case, that I think makes it easier.
I think the Microsoft documentation is good. It just takes a long time to find the right page.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you suggesting Bing search isn't very good?
No, I'm suggesting none of it is
What's that?
indexed very well.
Cool. Well, I think we are pretty much out of time, so I'm going to suggest we pause it there. I would like to thank you, everyone on the panel, for joining in and sharing their experiences. If anyone wants to be on the panel or join next time, or has any feedback for how we can make these better, feel free to reach out to any of us or drop comments in the chat, message on TechStudy, etc. I hope it was useful, and hope to see you all next time.
Great. Thanks, John.
I just want to say thank you, John, for running this.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
YouTube experts.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Cheers all.
Take care, all.
Next month.
Bye.